guys, so it's me, Kimberly from the Riverine Grazier, along with Tertia, our editor, and we are here today to have a bit of a chat about our recent trip to Wodonga Newprinters, which is really fascinating.
I'm supposed to interview you.
Oh, source mate. Yeah.
Hi there, I'm Tertia from the Riverine Grazier in Hay, Australia, and I'm interviewing our cadet journalist Kimberly, who's about to start her uni course in a few weeks' time, and we are very excited about that.
Yes.
We took the whole team on a road trip to Wodonga earlier this month to have a look at how our paper is printed, and so everyone can understand why things are done in a certain way and why there are deadlines. So Kimberly, what did you get most out of that trip?
Oh, it was so great. I bought a Stephen King book on the way home, which was really cool. I haven't started reading it yet though. No, just joking. Yeah, so funny.
So tell us about the
Oh my
printer,
God. Yeah.
the visit to the printers.
Yeah, so it was actually really fascinating. And one thing that Tisha actually has mentioned to me before, but I'd never actually known before I worked for a newspaper, just like many people who read the newspaper wouldn't know, that actually if you have an extra spare bit of information that you want to put in there, it's not like you can just whip out another piece of paper and say, oh, we're going to stick it on one more bit of paper and just add another page to the Grazier. It's not like that. So what they do is they print on a really small, not small, but thin aluminium plate. Actually, we have one here that was prepared earlier for us. So this is one of our recent editions, and I've just turned that up.
This is called a plate.
Yeah, it's called a plate. And so what they do is they print this, the 4 pages of the Grazier, and if you notice it's page 1, page 16, and page 4, and page 12 or 13 or something like that. So about four of these plates for a 16-page paper, wouldn't there be? Yeah, and so what they do is there's a really small piece of film over the top of that, so they print paper in 4. So just say that we needed to add a bit more information and the advertising revenue was deemed worthy of adding 4 more pages, then we need to justify basically having to have 4 more pages in our newspaper, because this is how it's actually printed.
Yeah, if you increase the size of the paper, you go up in 4s.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
It can't
yeah.
be just 1 page or 2 pages.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so that was a really interesting piece of information that I sort of got from newspapers.
And what about all the automation? Everything.
Oh, that was so
Incredible.
So cool.
Yes.
Yeah. So all above was this big, massive system of conveyor belts, and basically they had like a clip, and so the newspapers would come forward in a clip, and everything has its place. So that particular newsprint, is conveyed to the spot where it is then piled or inserted. So if we need like flyers and stuff or brochures inserted into the paper, it's all conveyed to the next area where that can all be done. And it was so fantastic to see.
And the building is 3 stories high.
Yeah,
Yes,
huge.
yes,
And I
absolutely
think the initial layout was 20 million and then the upgrade was 7 to 8 million.
Yeah. So
Yes.
people often ask us, oh, do you still print here, or why don't you still print here, or show us your printer? We haven't got $40-50 million
Oh, absolutely.
spare to do
Not
that.
yet, yeah.
And you need people who really know their job in doing that. It's very specialist.
So
And what about
precise.
those guys in Wodonga, newsprinters at Wodonga, their dedication to the job?
Absolutely, they are lightning. They just move with such speed and precision, and everything is perfectly timed. And so what happens, off the top of my head, what happens is they can easily dispose of 300 or so issues before they actually start getting the Grazier printed the same way you buy it off the shelf.
So they've got this quality control guy there, standing there, and pick up the paper. When it first comes out, it's pink, isn't it?
Yes,
And then
absolutely.
the pink fades and fades and fades. By the time you get to number 300,
Yeah.
then the paper's right.
It's ready to go.
Yeah.
And they were running, and they'd grab a copy and they'd come over and like look and analyse it, and then they, so they know they're pretty much on the ball exactly to get that testing right until it's actually the editions are ready. They're readable and they're up to their standard.
And of course, we're not the only paper they print on a Tuesday.
No,
there are many
gosh,
others.
no.
So that's why we have to meet deadlines.
Yeah, deadlines are so important. And that was, of course, a deadline is, I've always known a deadline was very important, but that's why we have to have our submissions and our pages ready by a definite time, because we have a time slot at the printers. So it goes there at a specific time. It needs to be emailed away at a specific time, because it's all very precise.
Yes, we have to send in our print order the day before. Say we've got a 20-page paper. They set up the press for the certain time of that morning to do 20 pages. If we miss that, then someone else has to come in before us, and then they've got to reset that whole press to say 48 pages or 8 pages.
Yeah.
So deadline is key in any newspaper industry.
Absolutely.
Throughout.
Yeah. It was all very impressive from Wodonga, the dedication of their job and how knowledgeable they were. And it really is quite an involved, intricate trade, the printing business. It was very cool.
And load shedding won't bother them, because they've got their own generator which kicks in automatically when the main power goes out. I found that very comforting.
Yeah. So nothing's going to stop the Grazier from coming here. And the reams of papers were huge, and they have their own system, like they'll use certain papers for certain newspaper places, and one ream of paper can be huge, and it's like 19,000 kilometres worth of paper, and it will all be used in about 15 minutes.
Printed.
Absolutely. It is an amazing process.
I'm really glad we were finally able to have the road trip and the whole team could go.
Oh, absolutely. Well worth the trip.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Kimberly.
Thank you.
That's it for Wodonga Newsprinters.